Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the constellation Draco. So I showed you Draco yesterday, and I'm going to show it to you today as well. I thought we'd start today, though, by just going over the stories behind Draco. There's actually three mythologies that are most commonly related to Draco. I'm going to share two of them today, and I'm going to mention the third one, but I'll tell you the third one later on. But in all three, Draco is actually a dragon in the sky. So that's what he's known for, is just being a dragon. I showed you where he was located yesterday between the Big Dipper and Little Dipper, and again, I'll show you that today. So the dragon actually is pretty short. The story involving the dragon himself is actually pretty short. There's not much to him in the stories. His story is part of some bigger stories. So I'll just tell you some of that today. So the first story involved. This is the one that's is the most least likely associated with Draco, but it still is because he is a dragon. And that's during the Clash of the Titans. So you have the Titans, who are basically the gods and goddesses' parents. And then you have the gods and goddesses, who are the children. And Draco is fighting on the Titan side. And Draco is fighting against Minerva. That's the Roman name of Athena. Athena is the Greek name. So Athena is the goddess of wisdom and the goddess of battle strategy. And Draco sees Minerva and he thinks he can go and take her. So he runs over and tries to fight against Athena or Minerva. And in this fight, it's really no contest. Athena basically picks the dragon up and does a backbreaker on him, and then takes his dead his dead body, slings it around her head, and throws his body into the sky. And that's how Draco has his back broken in the sky. That's why he looks the way he does, because he lost in a battle against Athena. Again, Athena is the Greek name for Minerva, who's her Roman counterpart. So that's the first story of Draco. And you'll notice that in all three of these stories, Draco, he doesn't actually win in any of the stories. He loses in every single one of them. So the second story, it's a little longer, and this story actually involves Hercules. So hopefully we know who Hercules is. He's been in several mythologies. He's had several movies made about him. He is the son of Zeus, but he's not a god. He's actually he's half god. His mother is mortal, a mortal woman, and his father is Zeus. And when Hercules was born, if you remember my stories about Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, Hera, or Juno, same person, different mythology. Hera does not like, so Hera is Zeus's wife, and Hera does not like that Hercules is born. He came into existence. Every time she sees Hercules, she gets upset just knowing that her husband fooled around on her with a mortal woman. So she tries to get even with Hercules several times throughout Greek mythology. And so I'm not going to tell you this entire story with Hercules because it's a long story. And there's several different mythologies that go with it. I'll tell you a few of them as we go along, but this one's just Draco. So what happens is Hercules does something he should not have done. And the reason he did that was because of Hera. Hera made him do it. And so in order to atone for his sins of doing what he did, he has to go and do these 12 labors. So he has to do work 12 times for this king. And what his last labor he does, the 12th labor, it's one of the hardest ones. He has to go and get the golden apples from the garden of Hesperides. And the golden apples are actually Hera's apples. They're Hera's. Hera received these apples on her wedding day from the goddess of the earth. And Hera wanted to protect these golden apples. So she had the Hesperides. The Hesperides are the daughters of Atlas. Atlas is a Titan. You've probably seen him before. He's been in the Hercules movie, the cartoon movie. And he is the one that is holding, he's the big stone mountain looking guy. And in the Clash of the Titans, when the Titans fought against the gods, when the Titans lost, Atlas was actually sentenced to hold up the earth for eternity. So he's always holding up either a pillar, or sometimes you've seen probably images of this really strong guy with the earth on his back, and that's Atlas. So Atlas's daughters are guarding those golden apples that are Hera's. And no one knows how to get to the golden apples except for the Hesperides and then Atlas himself. Since the Hesperides are Atlas's daughters, Atlas knows how to get to the apples as well. So Hercules decides if he has to get these apples, he needs to find out how he can find them. So he goes and he decides he's going to ask Atlas because he knows exactly where Atlas is. He's holding up the earth. So Hercules goes and he sees Atlas, just holding up this big pillar, which is keeping the sky from falling. And he goes in, and Atlas is actually very happy to see Hercules because he doesn't get much company. People don't come and visit him very often. And so they get talking, and Hercules says, well, yeah, that looks pretty heavy. I'm sorry you have to do that, but what can you do? Anyways, can you please tell me how to get those golden apples? I really need a golden apple so I can atone for my sins. And Atlas, he's really not the brightest guy. If you've ever know the mythology about him, or you've seen like the Hercules movie, he's really kind of stupid. He's more known for his brute strength. And so even though he's really, really dumb, he's really tired of holding up this pillar. And so he comes up with this idea, and he tells Hercules, he says, Hercules, I can't tell you how to get the golden apples. It's in the maze in the garden of the Hesperides. And there's just so many turns going through that maze, I'd never be able to walk you through all those turns. But something I can do is I can actually go get the apple for you. And Hercules says, well, can't you just tell me how to get them? And Atlas says, no, I can't. I have to go do it. I have to get them myself. And so Hercules, he decides he's going to have to trust Atlas here. And he's going to have to take over Atlas's position holding up this pillar so Atlas can go and get the apples. But before they actually switch places, Atlas says, oh yeah, there's one more thing. There's this big dragon guarding the entrance to the garden, and I cannot defeat the dragon. You're going to have to defeat the dragon for me. So Atlas goes outside of where this big pillar is, and he looks over and he sees the garden, and he sees this dragon guarding the gate to the garden. And Hercules just picks his spear up, and he hurls his spear at the dragon and spears the dragon through the heart, and the dragon falls over and is dead. And that's the story of Draco. So I told you it's kind of a lame story with Draco. So he's basically, since he died guarding the golden apples, they put his body into the stars, just honoring him for dying while on duty. But that's not the end of the Hercules story, of course. So I'll go and tell you the rest of that. So Hercules goes back down to where Atlas is holding the pillar, and he takes over holding the pillar. And he tells Atlas, please hurry back. I probably can't hold this pillar for long. I've got a lot to do. And, you promised that you'd go and come back. You go get the apples and come straight back. So Atlas runs off to get the apples. And as Atlas is gone, Hercules is thinking to himself, well, man, I really don't know if Atlas is coming back. He told me he was going to come back, but I don't know if I trust him. He's been gone a while. He better come back. I can't do this forever. I can't hold this pillar. And then finally, after a while, he hears Atlas coming up behind him, and he's laughing. He's got this dark, sinister laugh. And Hercules sees him, and he says, oh, thank goodness you're back, Atlas. And look, you have the golden apples. Well, now you can take your spot back, and I'll take those golden apples. And, you can go, I can go on my way, and you can continue holding up this pillar. And of course, what would you do in this situation? If you're sentenced for eternity to hold up this pillar, holding up the world, would you want to take that job back? I know I wouldn't. So Atlas says no, he's not going to do it. And so Hercules, he doesn't really know what to do. He's scared to death, thinking he's going to have to hold this pillar for eternity. But what he does is he just decides, well, I got to come up with a way to trick Atlas into taking over this pillar. So he comes up with a story, and he says, oh, you fooled me, Atlas. You got me. Okay, well, before you run off and go off with those golden apples, can you do one thing for me, since I'm going to be here for eternity, holding up this pillar? I've got this this itch on my back, and I really need someone to scratch it for me. Do you think you can come over here and just scratch my back for me for a minute and relieve that itch? And Atlas takes pity on Hercules because he's had that problem before as well, and he knows how bad that itch can be. So he says, "Of course I can itch your back. That's a terrible feeling." So as Atlas comes over to scratch Hercules' back, Hercules takes Atlas with one arm, throws him on the pillar, and then backs off and picks up the apple. And then he says, "I can't believe you fell for that, dummy," and then runs off with the golden apple. And that is the story of Hercules and how he gets the golden apple of the Hesperides and how he defeats Draco the dragon. The last story of Draco actually is this is actually my favorite story. I'm going to hold off on telling you this one. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that in the story, Draco actually is defeated as well. And Draco is the dragon that is defeated by Cadmus. And so I'm going to talk about this story later on when we start talking about the winter constellations with Taurus the bull. So those are the two stories about Draco the dragon. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what Draco looks like, how to find him, and mention the one star that you're going to need to know for your quiz and your test. So now let's take a few minutes and let's see if we can find Draco, and then I'm going to show you the stars and the outline of Draco, what he actually looks like. So we've seen this image before. So I talked about this image when we mentioned Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. So in this image here, you should see really at least 3 constellations now. So you should be able to see the easiest circumpolar constellation to see is always going to be Ursa Major, the Big Bear, or the asterism, of course, is the Big Dipper. So you should be able to see the Big Dipper. That's the easiest thing to find. And then once you find the Big Dipper, you should be able to find the Little Dipper with Ursa Minor and Polaris, the North Star. And then you're going to look between the two of them, and you're going to see Draco the dragon. So take a minute and see if you can find the Big Dipper, Ursa Major. And then once you find the Big Dipper, Ursa Major, you're going to use the stars, pointer stars, Meroc and Dubhe, to point to Polaris, which is the North Star. And then you're going to find the Little Dipper. Once you find the Little Dipper, you know where the Big Dipper and Little Dipper are. You can find Draco, because you're going to remember that the tail of Draco starts with the star right next to Dubhe. So first thing you need to do is find the Big Dipper, then you can find the Little Dipper, and then you can find the tail star of Draco. So I'm going to give you about 15 more seconds to try and find it, and I'm going to show you exactly where it is. So once you find Draco, the way you see the outline of Draco is you're going to start with the tail star, and then you're going to connect the dots that you see. Those dots are stars, of course, and you're going to go down between the Big Dipper and Little Dipper. And then once you keep connecting the dots, and then you're going to curve to the left under the Little Dipper until you get to the back break. Once the back is broken of Draco, you're going to go straight to the triangle head. So let's find these constellations. So the first constellation I see is over here. Here you have the Big Dipper, which is the tail of Ursa Major, the Big Bear. So we find the Big Bear here. We know there's Mizar and Alcor, the binary star system. Here are the pointer stars. You have Meroc and Dubhe. So there's the Big Dipper. So we use the pointer stars, and they will point to Polaris. So we start here with Meroc, and we make a straight line through Dubhe. And then we just go to the next star right over here. So that's the North Star, that's Polaris. And we know, since this is the tail of the bear, the Big Bear is running this way, up and to the left, which means the Little Bear has to be running down and to the right. So this is the tail star, that's Polaris, the North Star, which means right here, this is the Little Dipper. So I told you that in the Little Dipper, there are 3 brighter stars, and the other 4 are very, very faint. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These stars are not as bright as these 3. You only need to know Polaris here. So the Little Bear is running down this way. Big Bear is running up this way. So now that we found the Big Dipper, Ursa Major, Little Dipper, Ursa Minor, now we can find Draco. So let's go back to the pointer stars. We said you have Meroc and Dubhe. We said the next star over to the left is the tail star of Draco. So this star right here, that's the tail star. Then what we're going to do is we're going to connect the dots going down between the Big Dipper and Little Dipper. So we go from here to here to here, right here. Now once we reach right here, we're going to start curving to the left under the Little Dipper. So here's the Little Dipper again right there. So we're going to use the stars, the brighter stars, and connect to the left, curving as we go, curving a little up. So just connecting these dots here, just like this. And then what happens right here is you have the back break. So Draco's back is going to break right here, which means now we're going to go in the exact opposite direction. We were moving up and to the left, and then right here, now we're going to move down and to the right. So we come to this big bright star right here. And then the way you know you're looking at Draco and you can find it is you always look for the triangle head. So there's 3 stars that make up the head. There's actually 4 stars, but the 3 bright ones look like a triangle. So we go in a straight line right here. There's 1 star. There's the 2nd star. There's the 3rd star. So that's the triangle. This star is also part of the head, but you can't always see it, especially here where we live. That star is hard to see, but you can see this triangle very, very well. So that's the head of Draco. So that's all we're doing, just connecting the dots, or the stars that are there, to form Draco the dragon. So this right here, this is Draco the dragon. There's the back break, right there, back break, and then there's the triangle head. So that's Draco, right between Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you a couple different pictures to see if you can see it. I'm going to show you the actual outline, and then I'll tell you the stars of it. There's really only 1 star you need to know, and that star is called Thuban. So Thuban was the North Star back in the year 3000 BC. So back when the Egyptians were, ruling the world, during that time period, their North Star was Thuban. So I'm going to show you where Thuban is. It's the 3rd star in the tail. But I'll show you that in just a second. So there's the actual star outline. So you can see how it kind of looks like a snake here. So you got Meroc Duppy, next star over is the tail star, 1st star, 2nd star, 3rd star. That's Thuban. So this was the North Star back in the year 3000 BC, a long time ago. So this is the North Star now. That was the North Star. So here's Ursa Minor right here. That's Ursa Minor. And then right over here, that's Thuban, 3rd star. 1, 2, 3. And we just connect these dots like we did before. And then here, this is the back breaking, back breaks. And then we go over here to the triangle-shaped head. So hopefully you can see that. So the way you spell Draco, it's kind of hard to read there. D-R-A-C-O. That's how you spell Draco. Draco the dragon. So here you can see Thuban is labeled. Now it's kind of harder to see Draco in this image because there's so many stars. So when you have a little bit of light pollution, it actually makes it easier to see. But I like this picture. I like seeing more stars. The more practice you have with these, you'll notice you get really good at finding these stars and these constellations. And it's a prettier night sky when you have more stars. But Meroc Duppy, there's the tail star. And then we're just going like this. And then we're going this way. And then there's the back breaking. Now the triangle head is right here. It's a little harder to see, but that's the triangle head right here. So that's Draco, the dragon. The other 2 circumpolar constellations, I'm actually going to mention them right now, but on Thursday, I'm going to tell you the stories behind them, and then we'll have our quiz over this stuff on Friday. So the last 2 circumpolar constellations are Cepheus and Cassiopeia, or Cassiopeia, you can say it either way, and they're over here. There's Cassiopeia, and then here's Cepheus. So I'll mention those to you more on Thursday. I'll tell you the story behind them. Their story is intertwined since they're husband and wife, since they're king and queen, and their story goes along with a couple other constellations as well. So just another image. Hopefully you can see most of Draco. Probably can't see the head in this image, but you should be able to at least find the tail star, and then you should be able to count to the 3rd star over and see Thuban, and you can see the curve underneath the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, until you get to the back break. So here's the Big Dipper right here. There's Meroc, there's Duppy, there's the tail star of Draco. Here's the Little Dipper right there. So you never use the stars of the Little Dipper and Big Dipper in Draco. So you use those as references so that you know you're going in the right direction. So there's Draco's tail, 1, 2, 3rd star, that's Thuban. It's always right here near Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper. and then we come like this, and we just follow the bright stars. We come over here, and then there's the back break, and the triangle head will be right down here. So a little light pollution is always very useful whenever you're learning how to identify these constellations, because with some light pollution, when there's light pollution, only the really big bright stars are around to see. The ones that aren't as bright, you can't see. So you should be able to make it out a lot easier now in this image because there's less stars. So Big Dipper, there's Meroc, there's Dubhe. Here's the 3 stars of the Little Dipper that you can see. So next star over next to Dubhe, right there, that's the tail star of Draco. 1, 2, 3, that star is Thuban. And then we just connect the stars that we see. Here's the back break, and then we come down here to the triangle head. You can't see one of the stars in the triangle, but it's here. So there's the outline one more time. And then all I'm going to do is show you the names of the stars. Not all the names, not all the stars in Draco are named, but most of them are. So here are the ones that are named. And the only one I care about that I want you to know for your quiz and your test is this one right here. So Thuban, 3rd star in the tail, Thuban, right there. Thuban. So has a magnitude of 3.65. So again, the magnitude, that number tells you how bright a star actually is. The lower the magnitude, the actual brighter the star is. So Thuban is 3.65. We'll talk more about magnitude later on, but you just need to know that that was the North Star back in 3000 BC, and the North Star now is, of course, Polaris. But you just need to know 3rd star over, that is Thuban. So what we're going to do on Thursday, we're going to talk about Cassiopeia and Cepheus, and then again we'll have that quiz on Friday, which will be count as a daily grade. And so next constellation we're going to talk about is Cassiopeia, but that's going to be it for today because this has gone long enough. So make sure you study Draco, make sure you study Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. You have 2 constellations left we'll talk about on Thursday, and then we'll have that quiz on Friday. So thanks for listening, guys.